Welcome to A Photographer's Life, the channel that takes you behind the curtain and into the world of professional architectural photography. Join us now for a discussion with members of the Association of Independent Architectural Photographers, America's premier architectural photography organization.
So I want to welcome everyone to April 2026 AIAP Zoom meeting here. We're talking about email marketing, and this meeting actually comes out of a conversation I had with a couple of members in our post-meeting chat last month, and we talked a little bit about email marketing, whether or not it was still valid, and came to the conclusion that some of us were having great success, and it was probably the most valid thing that we were doing. And so I kind of wanted to share some information about that and did a little bit deeper dive into what we ought to be thinking about as far as email marketing. And I just want to start out with personal experience for me anyway. Email marketing has been my primary marketing tool for probably the past 15 years. And I don't do it a lot, but I do it quarterly. I mean, it's been a quarterly tool for me. And I mail to a curated list that I've created of about 15 to 20,000 names. And these are photography buyers. And I do that on a quarterly basis. And that is pretty much the extent of the marketing that I do. And beyond that, I'll do a little bit of social media posting, but I don't rely on social media for actually gaining clients, sometimes for awareness and things like that. But I can attribute very few clients to somebody that saw me on social media and thought, yeah, we want to hire that guy. So it's usually my email marketing that brings the clients in. And so I wanted to talk about that. I've got some kind of an outline of our discussion today, as well as some information about what I do and an example of my email marketing and my actual statistics from one of my campaigns, which is actually the last campaign that I did, which is a year old. I haven't done anything for a year. Some of you may know that I stepped away from photography.
Huge success.
I'm not shooting full time, nor am I actively looking for work full time anymore. So I am shooting a few things here and there for a certain number of clients, but the sample that you see in there is the last one that I sent out, which was in May of last year. But going through this, there's in that first section there about kind of one of the key points here is that one of the things that is an advantage over social media with email marketing is that we actually know who that audience is, and we kind of have ownership of that audience rather than just being this random audience of somebody that may decide to look at us on social media. Is that we have ownership of who those names are and the type of people that those are and what we can expect to see as far as statistics, people looking at that, and then that begs the question of how do we get those names? And I'm just curious, has anybody gone through this process of putting together an email list and curating one? And what's your experience been with that?
So I used LinkedIn. I'd
Okay.
hop on the LinkedIn, find all right, looking for marketers. Who are the marketers? All right, write all their names down, and then I will look through the website to try to find their email address. If I can't find their email address, I know there's a couple of websites that you can utilize that will give you the format of each company.
Yeah.
So I would do that along with just my connections and referrals.
Yeah. LinkedIn for me is the primary resource as far as finding people that I need to mail to. One other place that I went to initially was I joined SMPS.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I'm there as well.
and when you join SMPS, you get access to their membership roster.
That's right. I should look into that.
So it's like $350 a year, which is
Yeah.
that's a cheap email list.
Right.
And
Right.
maybe I shouldn't put it in those terms, but if you join SMPS, you have, and if you harvest that email list, you do get, access to those markets. You've got to go through it because there's a lot of people in there who are not going to be photography buyers.
Right.
You got to take a hard look at that. But you will come up with a lot who are, and so that's a good resource. But LinkedIn, I think by far is one of the best places to go looking for people that are photography buyers. And Josh, you mentioned another one as far as the to find the format of the email. If you know somebody in the company, who their email address, there's some conventions that companies follow as far as email. And one of the places you can go is hunter.io is a
Okay. That's right.
is a
That's it.
website.
One of them.
And
Right.
and that will, if you know the naming convention for the company, you can probably find or make an educated guess as to what the email address is going to be for the person that you're looking for.
99% of the time, unless they have a hyphenated name,
Exactly.
then you're not always sure.
Yeah, and so now one place where I've not had good luck is buying an email list. I had a couple third party companies who offered email lists to me, and I asked them for some samples, and give me a sample of 50 names or whatever. They were just total nonsense. I don't know where they came up with them, but they had nothing to do with anything. And so I was confident that if I had bought the list of 10,000 or 50,000 names or whatever, it would have been complete waste of money. So
in time.
and yeah, so it does take a little bit of time. There are some scraping plugins that you can use, like on Google Chrome, um, that will scroll through LinkedIn and extract. Once you do a search and come up with a search on LinkedIn, say you do the search marketing directors, and then you put in filters for a certain state, certain industry type, things like that, or a certain province, or wherever you might be in the world. Then you can start this plugin, and it will scroll through and extract those email addresses if they're there and put them into a file for you. One of those is Lead Leaper. I think they're like $30 a month to subscribe to, and they give you I think they give you like 10,000 returns that you can do for that $30 a month. Something along those lines. There's a few others that the thing you have to be careful of is that if LinkedIn catches on that that's what you're doing, you run the risk of being banned from LinkedIn. So, you just need to be careful.
Yeah.
And so as far as building the list as well, I kind of wanted to talk about who buys architectural photography these days. And is it really just marketing directors? Any thoughts on that?
I feel like it's the marketing person that keeps me, at least for me, it feels like it's a marketing person that keeps me busy. But marketing person gets let go and replaced or whatever, the
Yeah.
equity obtained with that company is with the principals or the project architects.
Right.
Let's try to get to know everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. Case in point, there's a firm that I work for that I've done business with now for 35 years. And the only people there that are the same are the two owners. It's an architectural firm, and everybody else is changed over the years. They churn, and the marketing people. And if you're a member of SMPS, you find this out really quickly. That people just kind of float around. They're at one firm and then they're at another firm, and they kind of all get to know each other, and it becomes kind of a club mentality. And if you make somebody mad one of those firms, you probably aren't going to get hired by the marketing people. So it's good to get in a good position with somebody that's a little bit higher up who, maybe has a longer view of the situation and not taking things so personal.
Yeah, I've made the mistake of just putting all my eggs in one basket, that marketing contact, and then she got let go. And then next thing you know, I don't know anybody in the company.
Yeah. Happens all the time. Yeah.
What did she go? Did she go to another firm that possibly
Well,
get?
the one
Yeah.
that stings the most is that I knew two marketing people, the local office that I worked with and the national corporate office. The corporate office contact retired, and then the local one I think she was a little thorny of a personality, and she got I don't know if she got fired or she got asked to leave, but yeah, next thing you know, I didn't know anybody.
Mm-hmm. That's the nature of the business.
Yeah, yeah.
Revolving door, coming and going.
So I actually have a little insight because I was a partner in an architectural firm for 35 years. And so I ended up with lots of contacts from that.
Mhm.
That now I'm shifting seats. I was the designer
Yeah.
and they were all trying to call me, and now I'm trying to call them. And so I have found, I can tell you that within an architectural firm, we grew our firm to about 200 folks. And we
Wow.
went from one office when I was started there, probably, I think we had like 10 people, up to 200 folks. And we had an office in Nashville, Chicago, and Orlando. And now they have offices in Miami, Boston, as well as those, and a Tampa office as well. So I can tell you, even within the organization itself, and I don't think that organization is any different than any other. The people in one office know kind of what's happening in that office, and the people in another office barely know what's happening in the other office. It just, and right now, in talking to all of the different, because I talk to contractors, I've actually worked with installing subs. I worked with architects, interior designers, product manufacturers as well. And so everyone is so busy right now that I communicate through email to them. And I'm trying to build, I have a list of roughly 1,200 names that I've got put together, and I keep working that to try and grow it. And I am using mostly LinkedIn and people that I know, and trying to get them to introduce me to somebody else. One of the things that I do is when I photograph a project, I'm like, I will separately invoice everybody on the team that's sharing the cost of this, because that now I pick up another client. And I find that sometimes it's the marketing person, sometimes it's not the head of marketing, but it's somebody else that's actually doing all the work. Sometimes it's a partner or the owner of the company, and sometimes it's just a job captain. I've had it, because everyone is so busy. In an architectural firm, you're busy designing or proposing for your next job, and then you're doing that job. And as that starts to trail off, it now shifts over, and the contractor is the one running it. And you go from a team that maybe grew up to like 5 to 10 people back down to a team that's like 1 or 2 people. And the contractor knows what's happening daily on the job site. The architect really doesn't. Sometimes their meetings are only once a month. And when they slow down to that point to where that's the pace that they're doing on that job, 3 other jobs have come out and landed on their plate. And so they're constantly juggling. It's very much like a treadmill. If you're not, if you're not busy, don't tell anybody, because you're either going to get cut or you're going to have 10 jobs handed to you. So it's just kind of a constant thing. But knowing how that works, I know to pay attention to the marketing people. But the guys that are actually at the job sites, the contractors, they're in tune because they know exactly where the job is at. and a lot of them want to show their project off as well. So, you know, I don't think you can just say just the owner or just the job captain. I think if you do that, you're potentially limiting your opportunity.
Good point. Thank you. So let's talk about actually putting that email situation together. I think we can. I mean, it's not a good idea to ever do that just through your own email address. You run into some problems really fast, and you're going to get banned by your email provider, and you're going to have some compliance problems with other email providers. So you really need to use a service, and I talk about that in that third point here about using a reputable email marketing service. There's some compliance issues that you have to meet in order to send out mass email. And if you don't do that, you get shut down really fast and flagged as spam, and you'll never get through to these people. Your own email service is going to shut you down, and then everybody else that you've mailed to is going to flag you as spam, and you're going to have to start over from scratch. So you need to sign up with one of these companies that is able to send compliant emails that meet all the standards throughout the world for sending mass emails. And there's a lot of those out there. Constant Contact that David mentioned, Mailchimp. I've got Campaign Monitor here. I use Benchmark Email. There's a lot of them. It's just whoever is a good fit for you. I see new ones every day that people are using. But in the advantage of putting one of those together is that they usually have the ability to help you create a list, and then they have the ability to help you curate that list and keep that list clean, so that if you have bounces from the list when you send out an email, you can clean out those bounces. They also help as far as designing an email, so that they often have templates that they can help you put together your email with. Um, they can do things that will allow you to put together an email that's a little bit more polished, that's just not just text, "I'm a photographer, hire me," kind of thing. So that's something that's really polished. Um, if you want to go beyond that, then maybe you could even think about hiring a graphic designer to help you put these together. That's not a bad idea. I mean, there are some advantages to having a good headline and a good subject line, and those are things that when you get into this from an advertising standpoint, those are the things that help you get your email read. I mean, as far as receiving email, what kinds of things you read and what kinds of things you don't, and what kinds of things go to your spam folder and that you just click delete on immediately. And so something that's really well designed and has a compelling headline and the subject line, those are the ones that get through. So most email marketing companies will tell you that a 3 to 6% open rate is about where most email campaigns land. So if you get above that, that's a bonus. To get beyond that, you've really got to do some hard work as far as your subject line and then your design. You've got to have something compelling in there to get that open rate. And so I've worked really hard to, as for design wise and things like that, to push up my open rate. And so my open rate has been consistently pretty high, and that's why I've been able to rely on it as my single most important marketing tool. And the one that I've shown you in here had a 32% open rate.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
so um, when you've got something like that, you really don't need to do a whole lot beyond that most of the time, because you'll have a lot of return, and it just makes it so much easier. You send that out, it goes out one day, and then you reap the benefits for the next 3 or 4 months.
So about the open rate, my
Yeah.
my emails have shown consistently to be like a 33 to 50% open rate.
Okay.
And I went to an SMPS meeting. We were talking about it was them talking about how to get good email marketing going.
Yeah.
And somebody brought up the point that, like, hey, well, how do you determine the true open rate and click rate of these when a lot of these email servers, they'll have a bot go through and click to make sure there's nothing malicious in it. So I'll send these things out at 8 a.m. and like a good chunk of the contacts will open it right away, 8 a.m. Click every single link, and I was like, wow, I'm really getting to them right away. That's crazy. And then I find this out. I'm like, well, now my open rate's like a third to a half of what I actually thought it was. Are you factoring that in? Have you seen the same things?
Well, I find that most people will open. Mine go out at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I find that most people open their email in the morning. Most business
Right.
people, and that's when the day I send it out, the morning of the day I send it out is when most people open that. It rarely do they sit on it. I get some sporadically throughout the day. By the end of the day, it's pretty much over with. I rarely get second or third day opens on my email. And I'm not a believer in the idea that these are bots opening the emails, personally, just because of the returns that I get. So yeah, I would question that analysis, but every time I've sent, and I've been doing this for 15 years, but every time I've sent out email in a campaign like this, the first few hours, the first 2 hours generally in the morning is when most people are going to open that email.
Right.
And mine goes out on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday morning.
I always send mine out on the same days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those days.
I never send it out on a Monday morning or a Friday morning. So,
yeah, I think email doesn't work at all on Friday because I can't
Oh.
seem to get anyone to respond.
Now on the other hand, there's a lot of research to show that social media is really effective on a Friday afternoon. So, because a lot of people are just kind of whiling away their time waiting to go home, and so they're fiddling around on social media, waiting for it to be 5 o'clock. And so there is some truth to that. But as far as email marketing, I don't find that to be the case. But I've had really good luck with the service that I use. I know some people are happier with other ones. And then there are some, where like David with Wonderful Machine, I think they have a service that they'll do that kind of thing for you.
For a cost.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
a cost. And I pay too. I can't remember how much I pay. I pay, based on the level of activity that I have, and I send out, a couple 100,000 emails. Well, and actually, it's not that many. It's about 100,000 emails a year is the level I'm sending out. So that's the level that I'm paying for with benchmark email.
Are you finding that the emails are new clients, or is it old clients that are reminded, hey, I need to get a photographer out there?
Well, it's a little bit of both, but for me, the intent of the sending the email is to gain new clients. I'm trying to increase my audience, I mean,
Sure.
there is some idea about increasing retention, but I mean, retention's. I think that's more based on continuing to do good work, but I would like to increase my audience and increase the reach of my work, and so that was the intent. And honestly, when the economy's kind of fluctuated, the email marketing has been the thing that's really been more consistent because the economy might be bad in a certain area of the country or the world, and the email marketing kind of helps even that out for me. And
Yeah.
so, if things are a little soft where I am, I mean, I'm based in the Salt Lake City area, and if things soften up here, it's not a big deal because I may be working on the East Coast or the South, East or on the West Coast or something like that. So um, the emails are going everywhere, and I'm picking up new clients on a consistent basis. But it does help reinforce the ones that I'm still doing business with. Obviously, I think that awareness is good to maintain.
Yeah.
And then there's a section here I've got on crafting emails that get open, and some ideas about and these come from notes I've taken from seminars and things I've gone to, and people that have advertising people who do this every day in and day out. And then as far as the content and the things that you need to have in there, I spend a lot of time on headlines, and I don't have a lot of content as far as copy, but I do have more images in there than probably a lot of people do. I see a lot of photographers that do like single image emails.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that I found that I get a little bit more bang out of having multiple images in there that maybe address different markets. And so I will put images in there that maybe address hospitality and healthcare and residential or something like that. So that's kind of the way I've approached it. But having a well-crafted headline and subject line, I think, gets you halfway there. And then you've got to have good imagery to kind of bring it home. And then some kind of a call to action, but not a lot of copy I don't read a lot of copy. So, so
I'm kind of a picture guy myself.
Yeah, I'm thinking that most of those people that are kind of like me, that I click on the email and I want to know what it's about, and then get on with the next one. And so tell me what I can do about it, and then let me go. And so if it's something that's 3 or 4 paragraphs, not going to happen.
Click.
So I think going back to the headline and the subject line, I didn't study photography. My education is in advertising, and I worked for a short time in advertising, and I go back to David Ogilvy, and if there's one book I could recommend for photographers to understand how to better promote their business, it would be David Ogilvy's How to Advertise. It's a little tiny book, How to Advertise. And there's another one called Positioning the Battle for Your Mind by Trout and Reese. These are older books, but they're very fundamental books in the advertising industry. And these are kind of things that if you understand these, then it kind of informs these little decisions about subject lines and headlines, and rather than just putting together an email that's John Doe Photography, hire me kind of thing. So And then I think it's important to measure, because sometimes you may think you've got just a smoking campaign there, and it just falls flat, and you have to kind of reevaluate. And I've had a few of those where I had one where I put together this email, and I didn't show it here because I was so embarrassed about it, but I thought it looked really good. I sent it to home builders, and it had a picture of a home that just a snapshot of a home, and then it had the same home that I'd done, and I don't have the headline in front of me, but anyway, um, the headline was kind of implying that if this is what your photography looks like, then maybe you should think twice about what your customers are thinking about your company, or this is that it's not really saying that much, anything good about your company. Well, it was terrible. I had a terrible open rate, and I got no business from it, basically. So I recrafted it, used the same visual, not the bad picture. I used the good picture. I recrafted it with a different subject line, a different headline, and it did really well. And I picked up some new clients from it. But I found out that you can't be insulting and gain new clients. So that was a good learning experience for me. But
can I just interrupt? So that was a question of negativity.
yes,
You're coming over. The object of the exercise is to be positive all the time, presumably, and not highlight someone's bad practice.
absolutely. Yeah, you can't convince somebody to do something by saying that they're a bad person, so or that they've made a bad choice or a bad decision. So yeah, absolutely. And that worked out well in the end after I learned that hard lesson. But yeah, but email marketing for me has been just such a great tool. Another point in that is, there's some things that you need to troubleshoot, and one of them is running these things by people whose opinion that you value. And sometimes that's a hard thing. I always have somebody else proofread everything I do. That's one thing. But as far as email, I will send this to people. First of all, I'll send it to my wife and have her look at it. But usually to other people as well, and get opinions about things like that. And sometimes the feedback stings a little, and you need to rethink things. Because not creative people don't like to hear bad things about things they've created necessarily. So, but when it comes down to dollars and cents in the end, it's always good to have some feedback that maybe helps you craft something that's better than what you did initially. And so I'd recommend that as well. I'd be interested to hear any experiences that any of you have had as far as email marketing, positive or negative, and how that's affected your business.
Alan, I was just curious to ask, like on this sample email that you crafted here, are these separate JPEG files or just one big picture, or
those are separate JPEGs. They're all linked. Yeah, if I were to send you the email, you'd find that those all have alt tags, and that those are all linked back to my website.
But they're actual JPEG like attachments?
They are JPEGs, but they're JPEGs in the body of the email. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was just curious, like, is there ever like spam filters that might snag emails that have attachments versus emails that don't have attachments?
Well, they don't come across as attachments necessarily, in the way that these are assembled. I assembled this in using the program that my email provider has. And so it's put together in their format. And so it doesn't come across as actually, an attachment to the email. It comes out, these are within the body of the email as JPEGs. And so the spam filters don't view them in the same way.
Well, also those services have already done all the work to make sure that you don't get considered as spam automatically.
Right.
So you have to have the opt out. There's a whole range of things that they talk to the ISPs in ways that mortals don't, or not mortals, non-engineers don't understand, so that they work, because it's not just, they don't really care about us. We're just solo entrepreneurs, but they care when Ford sends out a email batch or HBO. So they're very well protected for that.
Yeah. Just as an example, when I first started doing this and I sent out, I was only sending out maybe 40 or 50 at a time. I would get bounces and all kinds of problems when I would send out an attachment with an email with an image. Just never worked. And so that was when I got educated about the fact that, you need to use a service provider who actually knows how to put these things together and who is compliant with all of the parameters that ISPs have to adhere to. And so that's why I went, with that benchmark email, or any of these others will do the same thing for you. If you follow their guidelines and use their templates and stay within the parameters that they set for you, then you're okay. But it's essential.
I have found just by attaching an image to an email, and that's the wrong way to do it, but using a Mailchimp or something like that's the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But by having something visual there versus just the text of like, hey, how are things going? You got any projects? And, or something like that. Just having an image in there, somehow I got a lot more responses when I sent those emails out than when I sent emails out that was just text. So I do think that there's a lot of validity to having an image in there, whether they're just spending more time looking at it, or or whatever it is.
Yeah, and that brings up one point I wanted to cover as well. Is there's a lot of reasons that we can find to send out these emails, and several that I used over the years. One of them was travel, which was a huge one. I would send out travel notifications, and I would have 2 or 3 images in there, usually 3 images, but I would have in my subject line, as a travel notification, and then put the cities in that I was going to be traveling to. And then I would have a call to action in my copy, which would say that I'm traveling to such and such a cities. Please, and I have a day or two available to add, or I have time available to add 1 or 2 more projects in each of these cities. Please contact me immediately if you'd like to add your project. Now, the truth of the matter is, I may or may not have had a project in any of those cities. It may have been that I had a project in city A and a project in city B, but city C was in between, and I'd really like to have just stopped in city C on the way. So that may have been the criteria. Or I may have just decided I'm really tired of Salt Lake City. I'd like to go somewhere else for a couple of weeks. And so I sent out a travel notification. But more often than not, it was because I had somebody that, wanted me to be in Miami or Boston or whatever. And I really just didn't want to go there for one job. I'd rather go there for 2 or 3 or 4 jobs. And so I'd send out that notification. And in nearly every situation, when I did that, I picked up other projects. And one of the incentives that I added to that was that I would add your project without additional travel costs, because somebody else was already paying to get me there. And that was a huge incentive. And I picked up not only did I pick up new clients that way, but it just made the project so much more profitable to be in a city and stay there for 3 or 4 days, rather than I'm in there for a day and then I'm gone again. So that was one of the situations where I sent out an email for. Another was to announce a project that I thought was especially interesting. If I did a project that was unique or had won an award or something like that, I would do a project announcement. That was another reason to send out an email. That was something that I always enjoyed doing. That was less frequent, but every once in a while there was a project that was really quite unique, and I would send out one for them. Another was if for some reason I had won an award. I think those are less important, the pat on your back kinds of things. I'm not sure those are really that meaningful. It's like when, companies have, their 25th anniversary of, that's really only important to the company, but less important to the customer. So, I kind of hesitate on things like that. But if I won a certain award, maybe I would announce that and send that out. But probably in the copy, I would have something else to talk about other than, this is my award kind of thing. So there's always something that you can probably find a reason to send out an email about that might be compelling, to a certain market segment that you're doing business with.
One of the things that I've seen, and this is more of a social media thing, but it might be something that you could leverage somehow. There's a local photographer here, and when they photograph somebody's project, they'll actually put it on their Facebook page, and then they will also put in those companies that were involved with the thing, so that they're kind of build some rapport, and they're doing a little marketing for those companies while they're actually marketing themselves. So,
well, in addition to that, if you on Instagram create a collaborator in your client, or I had a client just do this for me, then you get way more bang for the buck, because now you get I did a job for the National Trust for Historic Preservation in Monterey, and the facility Cooper Malera Adobe, if you're ever in Monterey, beautiful little spot. And I watched my engagement just shoot way up, higher than I was getting, because I suspect on Instagram it's mostly my friends, and no, I think professionals do look at it, but they don't necessarily like it because they don't want you to know that they've seen your stuff, and that's fine. But yeah, so having that collaboration, I mean, I just did a free gig for a friend of mine that has a circus here in town, and she used one of my photos, and then I collaborated, and suddenly, boom, all these people are looking at my Instagram, or who's this guy that took this photo, because there's a direct link to my Instagram. So I think, yeah, so I agree. This guy in your town who's doing that, it's can be very helpful. Plus, it's just fun to, everybody likes.
well, it's so in I guess in the googliness of the world, one of the things that will allow more traffic to be finding you, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's on your website. One of the things that is a proof for those search engines, or those, I don't know, whatever the metadata for it. If another company has your name, or they have somehow you're referenced outside of your website, because on your website you're great, but when somebody else has something positive about you, all of a sudden it now proves to the system that you're valid, and it will start to send more traffic to you.
That was really important in the early days, like backlinks. This kind of one of the terms that they used for that. It was really, really important. It's still important. It's a little less important than it was, because the algorithms are really, in the end, just about selling ads. So, they want that engagement, they want proof that you're legit. But if you can bring the eyeballs to the ads, and don't ask me to explain how that works. I don't know how it works. And it doesn't work the same now as it used to because Google is leaned very heavily on its AI results. And its AI results are not the old search where you would get a result and then you'd click through. They just tell you. And so that's been a real problem for engagement for people who care. I don't care. Um, but it's been for instance, for newspapers, huge problem. And for advertisers, and to some degree, it's a huge problem because it's, anyway, but that's a whole other discussion that is above my pay grade.
Google's entire platform was about giving you answers that were close, but weren't the exact answer, because that's how you sell ads.
That's right.
And answer engines, the new AI device out there, answer engines give you the exact answer. And that's why this proof of you being legit is important still.
Yeah. And to be honest, I don't use Google. I use DuckDuckGo because Google tracks everything you do. And I refuse to engage in my search results, but DuckDuckGo and other places are just great. In fact, I think Google search results have, according to people who do know what they're talking about, have gotten really crappy over the last 5 years in particular, as they leaned harder into making money and less into doing what they said they were going to do, which is tell you something you wanted to know. So it's not a secret, but yeah, it's still the big dog. I think it's 80 or 90% of all searches in the world are Google. So I'm an outlier by not using them.
One point I wanted to jump back to on content, as far as the emails that you put together, that I found really interesting was how many people click through to my social media from my email that I send out. Actually the click through traffic is pretty significant on the social media buttons that I stick on my email, which I never used to do. I always just used to link to my website, but then I started putting the social media buttons at the bottom, and I found out that people were wanting to click through those and look at my social media. I've yet to be convinced that I get any clients from social media, but that's another interesting thing that just keeps people engaged.
Well, I think that what photo buyers and photo editors, which are not as interesting, have said, I mean, only because of the money. What they're looking for when they go to social media is especially if they've never worked with you before, so they don't know you. They're trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Because you might never, as we all know, never meet these people. They're going to send you out. They want to know that you know how to behave. You're not crazy, or at least overtly crazy, because you're going to reflect badly on them. So for editorial people, which again doesn't apply here, partly what they're looking for is what do you care about? And because you're going to put things on your social media you might not put on your website that they might find interesting. But it's also just, who are you? And so they'll go check you out there and on Facebook. And what I used to tell my students is, that picture of you with the beer bong on Facebook, you want to remove that picture, because unless you're only marketing yourself to companies that like skateboard manufacturers or snowboarders that care that, oh, that's great, he's a stoner.
Well, yeah, I think there is some vetting that absolutely goes on in social media. I've found that with advertising agencies that
they really look.
an art buyer for an ad agency will definitely look at your social media. And not that many architectural photographers do business with ad agencies, but when you do business with an ad agency, those are big dollar jobs.
Yeah.
And so those are important to make sure that you're pretty well buttoned up on your social media.
Yeah. So. And LinkedIn, I think is for me, I feel is the most important for commercial clients.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
and you can see that they've looked, especially if you pay, which I don't, but or I have done on occasion.
Yeah.
You can really track who's looking at you, and you just see who the companies are. And I sometimes send out a email marketing, and then within a week or two, I see that somebody from that company has checked me out on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. On you don't even have to subscribe to the premium to be able to at least see the
Oh no.
companies that are looking at you
Yeah.
on the searches.
And you
So
can put 10 photos. I mean, I basically set up a social media post, and whatever I put on uh, Instagram goes on to LinkedIn, all the
yeah,
words, all the pictures, everything, and the tags.
yeah, and there's a number of there's a number of programs that you can subscribe to that will allow you to create one post that goes everywhere, and that
Yeah,
saves you a lot of time.
yeah.
So those are things to consider as
I got a
well.
question.
Yeah.
Um, have any of you put any of your images on Google Maps where you pull up the property you shot and then put the image you want? Because I've had some clients they're going to put it there, but don't know that the metadata stayed there. So I
It
tried
does not.
one. That's what I thought.
It does not stay there. Yeah, this is let's go down this road just a little bit because I think it's an important one.
Yeah.
Because I've had a number of cases of copyright infringement that I've been pursuing this week related to Google Maps, where people have stuck images on Google Maps, and Yelp and other things, but Google Maps specifically and Apple Maps, and that metadata is gone, and the only way I've found these images is by using Google Lens to identify where those images have shown up. So people have used my architectural images to advertise their business on Google Maps. They're not clients of mine. they just scraped my image and stuck it on Google Maps, and there's no metadata there to incriminate them, so they think. But by using Google Lens, I was able to find that image and then initiate infringement proceedings against them. But yeah.
Well, that's kind of my thought, was that if I tried it last week. I put one on with the little watermark.
Yeah.
But what was impressive is the next week I got an email from Google and they said, 10,000 people looked at it this week.
Yeah.
I thought and I don't know if that's giving me any SEO credit as far as, and actually I looked and it said that more than likely your metadata has been stripped.
Absolutely.
Other than, I think, like the location, the GPS location.
Yeah, it's just like House or any of those other, you stick it on there, your metadata is gone. They repurpose that and
Facebook and Instagram. I mean, they make a
Yeah.
point of doing it.
yeah.
But when you put it on, if my clients are sticking it on there with nothing on it and the metadata strip, should I try to stick it on there first before they put it on there and at least got my watermark, which is not?
Well, I'm not sure what benefit it is to you.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I've never thought that a photo credit was of any benefit personally.
No. Other than if you saw the image and you wanted to contact me, you could that way, versus if they put it on, then it has nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Contact. So.
Well, you have to. I mean, I'll throw my 2 cents in, even though I don't really know what I'm talking about. But it strikes me that people looking at Google Maps are not looking for architectural photographers. They just want to see what the thing that they're going to or thinking about going to that place looks like. That's it.
Yeah.
So commercially, I think it doesn't strike me as being very valuable. But having a watermark is always nice. I mean, one of the things about watermarks is that if you do find an infringement and your watermark is gone, that's a sign of conscious infringement.
Right.
Alan will have the better term for that, but
Will,
it's a legal term of art.
We call it flagrancy in my country.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay, there you go.
willful and
Flagrancy.
deliberate is the United States term.
Yeah,
And that brings another 100% uplift in the fees on a small claims court.
yeah.
Flagrancy for stripping out the metadata. It's against the Copyright and Patents Act,
Yeah.
which was a cul-de-sac for you guys. So let's move on.
Well said,
Talking
Bob.
about British copyright law, it's pretty niche on a Friday in America. So
Yeah.
Oh, I can't
Well,
get enough.
Let's kind of bring this full circle here. The objective here was to kind of give some relevance to why we might want to think about doing email marketing. I think we've kind of made the case for why email marketing is a really important tool, especially for architectural photographers. But there's some real important steps to making it work and making it work well. But when it does work well, it probably works better than any other thing you can do aside from in-person contact. And so, and there's no way you're going to be able to contact, that many thousand people directly. It's really a useful tool. It can really boost your business in a big way really quickly. And, I can attest to that. It made all the difference in the world for me, especially during the pandemic when you couldn't get out.
Could I ask a question which is adjacent to that?
Yes.
Regarding the pandemic, I think certainly for photographers and people who want to see art buyers, the post-pandemic, it's got very, very difficult to make any kind of contact with architects and buyers out of the blue or cold calling.
Yeah.
It seems in my country, there's lots of hurdles and people are less receptive to pick up the phone and say, yeah, come in, bring your book in or whatever. It's right across the board, architecture, art, graphic designers, branders, the whole thing. There seems to be lots of gatekeepers or people just don't pick the phone up. They leave the answer machine on and filter your calls that way. That's my experience in London. And I wonder, do you guys have that same experience in your country about post-COVID? COVID seems a watershed when people stop working or work from home. And now there's not that kind of contact. It's very difficult to make a physical contact if you don't already have that contact, as it were. Cold calling or out of the blue.
I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah. And all you need to do is look at an office building and try to get up to somebody's floor through security. I get up to an architectural firm that's on the 12th floor of some office building without having a prior appointment and somebody to escort you through. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just trying to get through and say, can I bring my book in? Can I show you some work? It's like,
yeah. I think there's a lot of those offices, they're almost on a skeleton crew, some of them, because on Fridays, everyone just worked from home.
Right.
And you don't know what day that is. From the architectural side and the facility management side that I was involved with, Wednesday, it was the peak day. Because if everyone's like, well, you can take 1 or 2 days off, everyone chose Monday and Friday. So, I think that, and I do find that, even as the newer generation started coming in, I designed office space. So that was kind of, that's what I had to eat, breathe, and sleep. And so there was this thing where the newer generation coming in, because they're like this all the time.
Yeah,
that's the new source of communication.
Right.
It's about pictures and it's about that. And if you don't wow them in the first, half a second or so, click, you're gone. So there is a lot of that. I think the other thing that I wanted to touch on is, because you had the marketing person, I'm starting to now see a lot of these firms where the son or the daughter is starting to come in and they're starting to step into the role that the original principals or owners had. So if you're not making connections with the younger people in the firm, that's probably going to be worse than what AI does to you, because all of your contacts are going to be gone.
Yeah. Well, I just kind of from my experience, I just want to share this, that for me, the vast majority of work that I do, people contact me or they respond to me via email. I reply to them via email. We may have a phone call after that. I usually never meet them when I do the photo shoot, unless they have to be on site for some particular reason. I will probably never meet the person that hired me to do the photo shoot unless they have to be there for, unless there's a compelling reason for them to be at the photo shoot. There will be an on-site contact that I will be with. Otherwise, I will never meet that person. So the contact is all electronic. And, to Paul's point, it's not in person anymore at all. I don't have a book that I show. My book is my website, and my correspondence with them is all electronic generally. It's nice to pick up the phone and talk to a person if I can, but a lot of times people don't even want to do that. So being able to craft an email that gets, everything that we need to talk about in a concise paragraph is a really important skill. And so that's kind of where we are right now, unfortunately.
Well, it's probably good not having the architect or interior designer on site with you. They're kind of a pain in the ass.
I didn't want to say
I'm not
that.
gonna lie.
No, I would never say
I
that.
came from that world. And having trying to communicate or trying to schedule or something, I'm like, oh my God, how are you guys existing? So, yes,
that's funny.
I want to add just one little thing. I apologize for coming in late. If this has already been covered, but one of the things that's nice about emails is you can craft them quite individually.
Yeah.
So I send out emails now. What I do particularly, well, I almost always just look at the website first, because I have a list of things that I shoot, right? And so if I see that all anybody does is residential architecture, I just remove the retail, the hospitality, the industrial, the portraits, because it's not going to be relevant to them. And conversely, if I see that they do all those things, I make sure that they're in there. This is what I do, and it's in my introduction. And if for some reason I found out that I have any connection at all with somebody that works there, or particularly a particular project or a kind of project, I will make note of that in the email. Now, how well that helps me, of course, as we say, you don't know until you get the call. But if a company does a lot of historic preservation, I will send them a direct link, for instance, to the job I just did for the National Trust for Historic Preservation, because that makes you look really good. When the National Trust hires you, that's legit. And those sorts of things. So that little personal touch can make a difference. But I also want to say, I have just landed a job from a company where two things that were really surprising. One, I hadn't emailed them for 3 years. They had fallen off my marketing radar. And my initial contact with them was they called me. I almost didn't pick up the phone because I thought, oh, it's another spam call. But, it turned into a job.
That's remarkable.
I know. Well, it'll happen again in 10 years if I'm still alive and working.
There you go. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. It's been very enjoyable. I hope that this has been beneficial to everybody. I've learned a lot from each of you, and I appreciate your contributions today. Please take a second look at this outline. There's information here that I put together that we didn't go over, and I hope it'll be beneficial to you. Again, thanks for joining in this Zoom meeting, and we look forward to seeing you next time. when we close the recording, we'll stick around if you'd like to and chat on the back side of the recording here. But wish you all the best and hope you have a great month, and we'll look forward to seeing you again.
It's nice to meet you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
This has been another episode of A Photographer's Life. If you've enjoyed this program, please let us know by liking this episode and subscribing to this channel. A Photographer's Life is brought to you by the Association of Independent Architectural Photographers. This episode is copyrighted and may not be used in full or in part without the written permission of the AIAP. Please join us again soon for another inside look at the world of professional architectural photography.